Welcome to the 23rd round of WTSS Season 7. We're in one of the most famous venues in the world at the Monza Circuit in Italy for the first time in WTSS history. In qualifying, Rei Takeda scored her first pole of the season and her second front row start of the year. Alongside her is rookie race winner Arni Nugroho. Championship contenders had various stages of grief and glory in qualifying, resulting in a mixed-up grid for our title threats. Ryan Reid finds himself in the 15th position, not where he might want to be starting, but only one rival has qualified higher than him, that being the 58 of Sean Angel, up in the 7th position. Championship contenders like Tristan Wilhoit, Chris Louviere, Jeff McLennan, Mitchell Mark, Yuki Tamura have all found themselves 19th or worse on the grid. And as we are about to begin 35 laps at Monza, it's going to be a rough day to try and find forward progress for those names involved in bad qualifying laps. An important step in our championship picture with 8 races to go on the season. Rei Takeda on pole. Let's get to the start. Pace car pulls in, and the field gets ready for one of the most treacherous runs down the front straightaway to the first chicane. WTSS for the first time ever is green in Italy at Monza. Takeda leads us down to the hairpin to the chicane for the first time today, with manufacturer teammate Eugene DeMax pushing behind into the first corner. Nugroho tries to outbrake the 50 into the chicane. Side by side we go, nearly 3 and 4 wide for the rest of the field as they try to get slowed up for this chicane. Almost contact back there as they exit 3 wide. Arni Nugroho leads at Monza, exiting the first chicane. Big move for the 45. Now as we head through Curva Grande down to the first chicane, who gets the advantage down into the braking zone? Big move in the back for Sebastian Van Dalen on Jake Stavina, who goes down the inside and then around the outside on the exit to pick up a spot on the 80 car. 3 wide on the exit. Jeff McLennan gets turned by Brandon Crasta on the exit, and into the wall goes the rookie championship contender with massive rear end damage at the exit of the second chicane. Oh my goodness. Absolute pictures there for this championship. And the 5th in points man, the guy who was nearly in the point lead just a few races ago, is in the barriers on the first lap and is now going to have to play damage control for the rest of this race. Nugroho leads ahead of Takeda, Bolden, DeMax, and Angel has climbed up into the top 5 on this opening lap. A very important lap for the man second in points coming in. And as we exit the Parabolica for the first time today, it's Arni Nugroho, the rookie, trying to score a second victory on the year after winning Lime Rock earlier this season, leading the field. Down into the chicane for the second time today. At turn 1, Figueroa looks down the inside on Angel there, as that's contact between Eugene DeMax and Ryan Bolden for the 3rd position as they went under braking. Couple cars nudging into each other throughout the field, but nobody with major damage. And a spin for William Duncan forces the 69 of Mitchell Carter to skip the chicane, and Maverick Motorsports' race continues to get worse before we've even completed a lap and a half. Nugroho continues ahead out front as Takeda tries to fend off DeMax behind. Through the Lesmos we go, side by side, numerous drivers making passes around the outside. And Nugroho is stretching his legs out already. Moderate damage to the noses of both DeMax and Vita Bassa there in that first chicane. And then we saw the 66 of William Duncan spinning in the very slow first chicane to ultimately drop him to the second to last spot on the racetrack. And Maverick Motorsports already has 2 cars out of the equation before we've even completed the second lap. Wangzuat inside on Chris Dodd, who also has some slight damage on the nose of that car, into the Parabolica. Nugroho continues to stay out front as DeMax attacks Ray Takeda down to the first chicane on this second lap, on this third lap. Bolden this time is the one into the back of DeMax, as the two have traded blows now lap after lap. And Takeda with a big first chicane has pulled right back up to the 45 for the race lead. And Bolden successfully pulled off the move for third on DeMax. And we now, once again, have a fight for the lead as Ray Takeda approaches the back of the 45. Multiple side-by-side battles going on through the second chicane. Nobody daring to go three wide after the contact we saw on the first lap because of a three-wide battle. The rest of the field keeping it clean. A little bit of small nose damage on some of the cars in this field, but that's just from aggressive late braking moves. Speaking of which, Sebastian Van Dalen went for it on Sean Angel for 6th place. Wow. Into Ascari, could not find a way through, but the 58 looks to be struggling early on for pace. Alex Bignacco on Jake Stavinaugh, down to the Parabolica. It's a difficult pass to make, especially when the outside is the preferred line on the exit. But that 29 looks really strong on traction on the exit, side by side between the two of them. As Takeda breaks the gap back down to under half a second on Nugroho. Top 5 under a blanket. Van Dalen on Angel for 6th place. Through the first chicane we go. Everybody funneling their way through. I see slight nose damage on third in points, Tristan Wilhoit. And it looks like he's been into the back of possibly Daniel Giroux down to that first chicane. Very difficult braking zone to nail in a car like these. And Takeda, under pressure from Ryan Bolden for 2nd place, nearly loses the position and loses a ton of ground to Arnie Nugroho. Multiple side-by-side battles through the Lesmos once more. That's Stavinaugh versus Logan Hill. Stavinaugh on the defense right now as Hill has passed one car this lap already, being Patrick Smith, and he's looking to do another. Down to Ascari. Not close enough. He'll slot back in line behind the 80, but looking very, very fast and very aggressive in these opening laps. Well, Wilhoit better hope that damage isn't going to affect the performance on that car, and hope that it's just small enough that he can overpower whatever minuscule deficit that's going to bring. Now what do you do if you're Ray Takeda? You know you're under pressure from Ryan Bolden, but you know you're quicker than Arnie Nugroho out front. You set your sights out front, or do you focus on the mirror? I'd say set your sights out front, react accordingly should a move come. Into that first chicane once more. That's Bignacco on Angel now. The 58 car struggling for pace in these opening laps is about to lose another position, this time to the 29 of Alex Bignacco. And through he goes. Bolden must have ran wide in the chicane because he's nowhere to be seen in relation to Ray Takeda, and we have side by side for 4th place between Allison Figueroa and Eugene DeMax. Down to the second chicane we go. Can Figueroa clear? DeMax fights back on the exit. He's got the preferred line now. Side by side down to the Lesmos. Angel's now under pressure from Stavinaugh for the 8th position. And even larger damage to the nose of both Chris Dodd and Fabio Vitabassa. I think there might have been a 3-car stack up into that first chicane that we just did not see in the moment. I don't see anybody out there with major rear end damage. I could see Daniel Voiles being the car that possibly got hit by Dodd and then Vitabassa. Incredibly difficult corner to nail, even in a sports car or an open wheeler, let alone one of these hybrid touring car slash stock car vehicles like the WTSS runs. So the question will be, is that enough damage for those two to pit? I say yes. I think both Dodd and Vita Bassa are in at the end of this lap. And it's not done yet, because I think Elijah Innes has just mowed down the rear bumper of Brandon Crasta, possibly into the Ascari chicane, because we did not see that earlier. Yes, Dodd and Vita Bassa are in. Absolutely Innes will be in. That is more damage than they had. Can't even see out the front of that car, I wouldn't believe. 3 cars into the pits, having made collisions in the chicane. And just like that, Ray Takeda is back on the rear of Arnie Nugroho for the race lead on lap number 6. Patrick Smith on Logan Hill. Contact. DJ Curtis shoves championship leader Ryan Reid across the chicane. They get away without accident, but there was contact. I don't see any damage on the 90 car, but it is a very, very close call that was avoided by the championship leader. That could have played a huge factor in this points battle. And Elijah Innes has called it quits. They think they've busted the radiator on that car. No more for the one car here at Monza. Only 5 laps in. Hill on Angel for 8th place. Big points on the cards. Can't do anything with it. Ryan Reid, even in that contact, was making positions up. He's up to 14th place now, higher than his qualifying position after a slow start. The top 7 cars appear to have found a bit of a breakaway. Sean Angel is forming a bit of a train behind him. That 58 car is really struggling. Put the lap together in qualifying, but they have not nailed the race setup on that car. Nugroho continues to lead at Monza. And just when you thought the day couldn't get any worse for Maverick Motorsports, William Duncan has found the rear of James Gibson's car in the 75. And that's going to put him on the back foot for the rest of this race, possibly into the pits this time. The gap basically stagnates between Takeda and Nugroho that time at about 3/4 of a second. Logan Hill attacking Sean Angel into turn 1. He's going to have the preferred line as Ryan Bolden locks up into turn 1, overshoots the corner. DeMax gets around his outside and finds the position just as Sebastian Van Dalen gets alongside the 98 of Allison Figueroa. Angel loses out to Hill, and it's pass and pass and pass in that chicane. The biggest passing zone on the lap as William Duncan has come in to tear the hood off of that 66 car, and you just have to feel for him. That season just has not gotten better for the 66 this year. And Mitchell Mark, one of our title contenders, 6th in points. Major damage, and I think another driver has found the rear bumper of Brandon Crasta's car, and that 63 car has been running pretty slow in the corners on these road courses, and I have to imagine that could have possibly been a side effect of that contact, of that speed difference into the braking zones. Look at Eugene DeMax now, all over the back of Ray Takeda. Both of these drivers hungry for a victory. DeMax lost an engine from a battle for the lead in Watkins Glen, and in that same race, Ray Takeda, you could say, got absolutely robbed by a lapper, giving the win to rookie Allison Figueroa. Through the Parabolica once more. End of lap 7. Nugroho ahead of a soon-to-be battle for 2nd place as Takeda has Eugene DeMax all over her rear bumper on the run down to turn number 1. Will we see any fireworks between the two of them? No, we won't, but Ryan Bolden is sending one from 100 yards back, trying to get on Eugene DeMax, but can't get down the inside in time. That could have been a huge move if he had pulled it off. Look at Ryan Reid on the 13 of Daniel Voiles, round the outside on the exit. And a retirement for one of the dark horses for the championship. Mitchell Mark is out of the race due to that damage into turn 1. And it's something these drivers have to look out for. As Reid has cleared for the 13th position, on Daniel Voiles. That is a big move. Big moment in this race. Logan Hill just turned the fastest lap of the race. Nearly half a second faster than race leader Arnie Nugroho. And he's on the move again in 8th place, trying to get Alex Bignacco. Down to Ascari once more. Just over a fifth of the way through this race. And Takeda still keeping Nugroho within an arm's length. Trying to keep within reach. Because if you can stay close enough in that draft, in that slipstream, it can really pull your lap together, even if you don't have as good of a car as the car ahead. A cross start finish once again to complete lap number 8. It's basically breaking even between the top 3, all of them running identical lap times. Logan Hill tried to make something happen that lap, but he couldn't find any place to make any moves. Into turn 1 again, another almost mistake from Ryan Bolden. That car is extremely squirrely, under braking. Bolden on to Max for the 3rd position. Takeda made a mistake and held up to Max that allowed Bolden to get alongside, and now he is approaching the 50 car on the run to the 2nd chicane. Down to the Dell'Oragio once again. Multiple battles going on. Angel now approaching the back of Logan Hill to possibly reclaim that 8th position. Maybe he's found a second wind in that 58, or he just took care of his tires in the opening laps. We won't know until we see further sample size. Now, this will be the real test for Rei Takeda. Does she have what it takes to regroup and chase right back after the 45? Bignacco on Figueroa for the 6th position through the Parabolica, but now he's going to have no draft, no slipstream at all down this whole front straightaway. Takeda only lost 4/10 that lap. Good damage control from the 50. Bolden overshoots the chicane again. He's had trouble with that all day. Under pressure from Nugroho, from Demax. And speaking of Nugroho, he made a mistake in the first chicane, and Takeda has approached. Bolden. Reid under pressure from Voiles now to get the 13th position back from the championship leader. Nugroho can now see that 50 looming large in his rearview mirror. Yuki Tamura trying to hold off Daniel Giroux, and that's some damage to the 49 of Hu Ji-yeon. That's surely going to require a pit service as well. And it's been a rough day for some of the veterans of the sport. They saw it coming, but all the drivers and teams, they saw it coming. With a chicane braking zone that difficult and that tight into turn 1. It can be really hard to get one of these cars stopped on a good day by yourself. But in a group of cars, when you don't know where the guy ahead of you is going to brake, it can be really difficult to woe it up in time. Speaking of who, she's trying to get to the pits, I think, here. Yes, just barely cuts across Jake Stevens to get down to the pit entry. And up at the front, the gap has shrunk back down to a half a second between Takeda and Nugroho. Into that first chicane once more. And a bad corner from both of the top two. DeMax just kind of followed through there. And Alex Bignacco, while battling for fifth, has clambered into the back of the 81 of Sebastian Van Dalen. And that could be a race-ending damage. Look at Eugene DeMax down at the Della Roggia chicane. Side by side with the 50 of Ray Tuckett around the outside, through for P2. Big move for the Season 3 champion. And Takeda, who had been sizing that move up all race, was unable to pull it off before the 4 of DeMax arrived and took it from her. And now Nugroho tries to gap away from a different driver behind him. Let's see what DeMax can do now. Bignacco limping back to the pits with massive front end damage. I don't know how you can even see out of the front when it's like that. I think he's just trying his best to get back to the pits here. And that's going to hurt Logan Hill, who was making great forward progress. Got Allison Figueroa just a lap or two ago. Bignacco will peel into the pits here, but that forces Hill to be under defense from Figueroa, who doesn't lift to that final corner, gets alongside the 11 car, and look at Eugene DeMax all over the back of Arnie Nugroho as they head down to the first chicane. Into turn 1 we go. DeMax slightly locks up a bit, overshoots slightly. Side by side, almost on the exit, DeMax gets right up to the bumper of the 45. Nugroho under pressure as we head down to the Della Roggia. Looks to the right, can't find anything. Will he peek to the left? Into the braking zone, not able to do so. Nugroho keeps the lead for now, but DeMax is all over the back of him. And don't count out Van Dalen, Bolden or Takeda out. As Hill clears Stavenon now, but loses out to Figueroa. Bignacco returns to the race, hoodless as well, and has joined the club at the back of the field. Nugroho still in the lead, but under immense pressure, even more than what Takeda was able to give him. Ryan Reid is 12th. Sean Angel is 10th now. Is 9th now. So that would mean that Reid is 11th, actually. And the two title rivals inseparable on the racetrack as DeMax sizes up Arnie Nugroho for the lead down at start-finish line. The closest the top two have been all day, regardless of who it was. Does Nugroho have what it takes to outbreak the 4? Yes, he does, but only just. DeMax takes an alternate line through the chicane, tries to swing around the outside of the 45 on the exit, can't do so. The traction on that 4 car is so much greater than what Nugroho's got right now. And I have to wonder if that slight nose damage is actually hampering DeMax's efforts here. Because at the peak of the straightaway is where he's losing out to Nugroho when trying to make these moves down the inside into the chicanes. Nugroho exits Lesmo 2 with a line of cars going back to 5th, going back, I mean, you could say technically it's connected all the way back to 12th, Daniel Voiles. But there is a gap between 6th place Figueroa and 7th place Logan Hill. Through the Ascari chicane once more. DeMax has got a run on the 45. Will he use it into the Parabolica, or will he wait again to size him up down into the first chicane? Nugroho digs deep under braking, keeps ahead of the 4 for now. DeMax pulls the switchback, runs up to the top, cuts back down to the bottom, side by side with the 45 and Nugroho down the front straightaway. Straight line speed advantage for the 45 though. Will it carry him into that first chicane? Braking zone. DeMax alongside Nugroho. Side by side, preferred line for the 4 car. Give the lead to Season 3 champion Eugene DeMax. And look at Takeda getting alongside the 45 as well, down through Curva Grande. They're gonna go side by side down to the Della Raggia, but Nugroho hangs on to the position for now. Does he have anything left in the tank to try and make a response to Eugene DeMax? Over the sausage curve goes Ray Takeda big time. Almost loses out to Ryan Bolden as a result. And there it is. No margin. Ryan Reid has taken 10th away from Patrick Smith. And Sean Angel is the next target of the 90. And wouldn't it be something if he could still manage to find a way to extend his championship advantage? DeMax still in the lead and looks to have stretched his legs out a bit. Was he holding back? Or was he being held back by the cars around him? This will be the real moment of truth now. Across the line, Eugene DeMax goes. It's a 48.6 versus Nugroho's 49.9. That's with the battle and the loss of position that lap. Can Nugroho respond? Or is it sayonara to Eugene DeMax out front? Look at Logan Hill on Allison Figueroa for 6th place through Curva Grande. Oh, gets pinched all the way to the grass. Might have had to lift slightly there. I think Figueroa is going to stay ahead into the braking zone. Yes, she will. Big defense. And Nugroho might have burned his stuff up. It looks like DeMax is pulling the gap out. But I wouldn't say DeMax is the only threat for the win today. There are other drivers coming up through the order that look just as fast, if not possibly faster than that 4 car. Down into the Parabolica. We're about to approach the halfway point of this race in just a couple laps' time. And we have a race on our hands now that could play a major factor in the championship battle. Not in the stance that the championship lead gap is going to have a major effect, but the gap to 3rd on back could be absolutely monumental this far into the race. And we have our first takers to try and take their cars all the way to the checkered flag. But crucially, all 3 of them are drivers coming in with damage repairs to boot as well. So that could be a reason for coming in earlier. Those being Sebastian Van Dalen, Brandon Krasta, and Jeff McLennan, drivers whose races were affected basically on the first lap. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on as this race continues. Alex Constantine trying to pass Bobby Frazier for 26th place. And the man who started dead last continues to keep the position for the time being. Out front, though. The gap widens by a lot this time around. And now this will be the important moment of who can respond to Eugene Max. If there's somebody out there that's fast enough to challenge him, how long will it take them to climb through the order? Daniel Voiles makes the cut to pit road as well. He's another one of those drivers that's been slightly hampered today by a little bit of damage. I could see that being the reason for coming in a little bit earlier than what people might have expected for a green flag pit cycle stop. .13 appears to be the only one in, though. And everybody else continues to try and cycle around. Slight contact between Tristan Wilhoit and Cale Teskar Jr. there into turn 1. Teskar makes the position up on the 17. And Ryan Bolden has jumped up into the 3rd position ahead of Ray Takeda. The 50 car, I think she burned her stuff up trying to beat Nugroho, and is now starting to drift back as the race continues onwards. Logan Hill has cracked the top 5 ahead of Allison Figueroa as well. That 11 car continues to march forward, and Sean Angel, while trying to keep Ryan Reid back, has caught the back of this lead line. Daniel Giroux with some pretty sizable damage on the nose of his car. Looks like he might have been into the back of Yuki Tamura into turn 1. Notable rear end damage on the back of that 60 car. Voiles comes out now the leader of the drivers on fresh tires. But every driver that's pit so far is damaged, so do not take too much account into the fact that they are way undercutting the rest of the leaders. Sure, they're going to make up some ground early, but their advantage will dwindle. DeMax is one of those guys with damage. He's got front and rear damage. He's been in contact with 2 different drivers throughout the race. But I think he's extremely happy with the way that car is handling, and he is just out of here right now. Absolutely flying. Logan Hill was faster than Eugene DeMax that time by, though. Down into the braking zone at turn 1 on Ray Takeda for the 4th position now. The 11 car marches forward again. Daniel Giroux, Yuki Tamura, Chanarong Wangzuwat, they're all into the pits. Tristan Wilhoit, James Gibson. I think Wangzuwat overshot his pit stall. He'll have to come back around. That's unfortunate for the 08 car. Damage repairs going on. There's Mitchell Carter as well in the pits. Damage repairs going on for the entirety of the people in the pits right now. Who comes out as the leader of this line of cars? Will Giroux get ahead of Daniel Voiles? I don't know. It's going to be tight. Down into 1. Curtis tries to cover the 13. Oh, man. It's preferred line for Curtis here, but better tire temp for the 13 of Voiles. Crasta's now playing a factor in this. He clears the 13. As Curtis attacks Giroux, Crasta attacks both of them as we head through Curva Grande side by side for position. Crasta follows in line behind the 54 of Curtis. Can he get down the inside of Giroux as well? No, he can't. Side by side continues down to the De La Raggia. And both Giroux and Curtis continue wheel to wheel as Crasta digs deep to try and find something around the outside of the Lesmos. He gets 1 car. He's now up to the back of the 2. Down to Lesmo 2 here. Thinks about a move down the inside, thinks better of it, and looks for something on the exit. Big battles going on in the midfield. More cars into the pits. Sean Angel, Ryan Reid, inseparable in the championship battle, inseparable in the race, and inseparable in strategy. Oh! Sean Angel's been hit on his way into his pit stall. Oh my goodness! Patrick Smith drills the 58 as he tries to get settled into his stall. And Angel, they're unable to service the car. He's gonna have to go back around. Oh my goodness! And just when you thought Ryan Reid could not find a way to gain major points on this championship picture, he might have just done that. Not of his own doing, though. Contact between Patrick Smith and Sean Angel. This has to be the 5th or 6th time this season those two have come to blows at different points of the season. That's unbelievable. You can't even script it. How in the world do the only two Canadian drivers in the entire field keep finding each other on the racetrack? Nugroho is now under pressure from Logan Hill, who has marched his way through the entire field. DeMax is in. Eugene DeMax is finally into the pits. Do they respond? Yes, they do accordingly. I don't even know if you could bring yourself to stay out in their lap. Nobody dares. DeMax's pit stop might be slightly longer if they choose to repair that nose and rear end damage on the 4 car. That 5-second gap he's grown out to over these few laps could dwindle in the pits. It's going to be a 4-tire stop and damage repairs being reported on the 4 car. So they're going to spend a few seconds repairing that thing as well. But the question is, how long do they spend repairing it? They drop the jacks. They spend a few seconds pulling some fenders out and pushing the hood down a bit. And away he goes. DeMax leaves the pits with only a pit stop about a 3/4 of a second slower than Arnie Nugroho's. And a slow stop for Logan Hill in the 11. He comes out side by side with Jake Stavinaugh. And the 98 of Figueroa just ahead of him. He has to back off as to not cross the pit exit line. Tries to use this time to maybe think around the outside there into 1, but can't. And after the whole pit cycle, it's been a shuffled up field. People are now coming out of the pits on cold tires right now, trying to get their rubber up to temperature. Ryan Reid, by coming in a lap early, has gained massive amounts of time. And now that Sean Angel has finally gotten his car serviced, he is now at the back with the rest of the damaged cars from earlier on. I just cannot believe the luck of Ryan Reid's championship rivals. Eugene DeMax continues to lead by an impressive margin, as we now approach 15 laps to go for the Season 3 champion. Across the line begins the first real chance to get a gauge on where that pace is now. Nugroho gained a second, 3/4 of a second in the pits, and another 1/4 of a second on the racetrack. Look at the battle coming down to turn number 1. Ryan Reid in the thick of it, surrounded by cars on all sides. Finn guy has slight nose damage. I don't know where he got it from, but it wasn't from just now. And the 92 might have to give up a top 10 run if that hampers his car. And there's Sean Angel having to make a second trip through the pits to take his tires. Still getting up to temp, having to fight Fabio Vitabassa for 36th place. And it's an absolute nightmare for one of the longest running veterans of the sport. And now will be the moment of truth for all of the rivals behind him. Can anybody mount a charge on the 4 car? Or is it going to be lights out? I'm not quite sure of it yet, but I almost think that he has gained some time again this lap on the 4. We'll have to wait for timing and scoring at start-finish to tell me for sure. Oh no! Kyle Buschelia and his rough, torrid weekend at Monza comes to a smoky end at the Ascari chicane. Engine failure for the Van Dalen driver, and race over with 15 laps to go. Oh, man, you hate to see it. And yes, the advantage is being etched into out front. Nugroho gained half a second on Eugene DeMax that lap. So keep an eye on these guys as they continue on. Ryan Reid has lost out to Roberto Crown Jr. and Patrick Smith in the first chicane. And that's 2 positions lost for the guy who looks to be gaining a ton of points on every driver, eyeing up his points position. Oh, and Hu Ji-yeon with a problem in the 49. So unfortunate for her, and her race is effectively over now as they continue to service her in the pits. I'm hearing it might be a fuel leak on that 49, and we know how terminal that can be with cars like these, with how difficult it is to move the fuel cell around. Sorry, not a fuel leak, an oil leak. I had that wrong. So Hu Ji-yeon should be able to return the race and continue on as she does right now. And Alex Constantine becomes our second engine failure of the race from the same exact position in the exact same corner, and is going to come to rest in the exact same spot as Kyle Buschelia. You couldn't script it right there. 2 things just happened back to back at the exact same spot from the exact same position on track. And both of those engine failures, you got to think, are gaining crucial points for Sean Angel, even if it is just 2 championship points. It's 2 championship points he won't have to worry about later in the season. Nugroho and Bolden cut the lead down to 3 seconds. On to Max. So keep an eye out on that. But also keep an eye out on Alison Figueroa, who just turned the fastest lap of the entire race last time by. And pseudo teammate Jake Stavenot turned his fastest lap, which was the 4th quickest on the list. Oh, and Logan Hill in the 11 has shredded a tire down to the De La Roggia chicane, and he's out. He's gonna not be able to make it back to the pits. And from 7th place, it's over. Never had a chance if that tire was gonna blow. What a stretch of laps for some of these drivers out here. You just got a feel for all of them, really. Unbelievable. Can DeMax respond, or is he just at a pace deficit? Have they made good adjustments on that 45 and the others behind him? Could we possibly see a convergence of the leaders by the end of this? 48.8 from DeMax, 48.5 from Nugroho. It's 2.7 seconds now. And a 47.7 from Figueroa. Flying out there in the 98. And Finn Guy's been into the back of another car. And the damage goes from moderate to terrible. And the 92 comes into the pits, not to retire from the race, but to rip the hood off that car and pull the front end out. You just have to feel for that for them as well. Fingai Saitomi had been on such a run of momentum as of recent. An engine failure at Fakisa Freeway, and then that right now here in Monza as Daniel Voiles has caught damage. And it looks like that's going to be race-altering damage for Voiles and the Culo Alfa Romeo team based out of Italy. It's going to be a day to forget in front of their home crowds. The only 2 Alfa Romeos in the field. Very unfortunate for both of them. And you can see the gap visually shrinking now between Demax and Nugroho. What do you do? What can you do? Demax, employing every ounce of his racing abilities we know that he has. He's a series champion in the WTSS. He knows how to drive around these tracks at speed and effectively. Through the Parabolica. It'll be 11 laps to go this time around. The lap times stay the same for Demax, but they keep improving for the cars behind. Figueroa sets another new fastest lap of the entire race, and Nugroho sets his own personal best lap in second place. The gap shrinks to 2 seconds now between Nugroho and Demax. And honestly, if I'm Nugroho, I'm not focusing on catching Demax, I'm focusing on keeping Figueroa back. Because I know I've got the pace advantage over the 4. I don't have the pace advantage over the 98. Ryan Reid falls to 10th. But honestly, at this point, he doesn't need to fight. He just needs to survive, just to the end of this race. And Voiles is finally in with that front end damage. He rips the hood off as well, and they send him back out. And as they inch ever closer, who's going to be the one to be able to take it from him? Because it's obvious that Demax is in trouble now. The 4 car has lost the pace advantage it had late in the first run, and he's under threat from 3 different names in the dying stages here at Monza. Now the question being, when they get to Eugene Demax, how quickly can they dispatch him? Can Demax force any sort of defensive measures that can keep him the lead? It's going to be 10 laps to go this time. You almost have to wonder if the damage repairs may have actually hampered that car, slowed it down a bit. Possibly messed with the aero balance. Nearly a second gained again by Nugroho and the rest. Ryan Bolden hasn't been in conversation to win a WTSS race in years. Could this be the moment? He'd have to pass all 3 of them. He's trying to work on 1. Outside of Figueroa, Ryan Bolden goes to 3rd place. Nugroho inches to under a second now behind Demax. Bolden, one of the 2 drivers that has struggled the hardest this season, alongside Season 1 champ Brandon Crasta and former title rival. Ryan Reid still hanging on to 10th, just minding his own business and just here to score the points he needs to score. Sean Angel maybe could catch about 3 or 4 more cars before the end of this race, but it's extremely detrimental race for him. Nugroho all over the back of Demax for the lead. Across start finish, he peeks to the right hand side. He's got the run on Demax on the exit of the Parabolica. There's nothing that the 4 car can do to stop him from getting alongside. Into the first chicane. Wheel to wheel, fender to fender, door to door. Arnie Nugroho takes the lead back on lap 27 of 35, and Allison Figueroa gets back underneath Ryan Bolden to try and take 3rd back in that position battle. And Demax gets thrown way offline and is now possibly under pressure from both names behind him. Bolden digs deep around the outside of Figueroa to try and keep the third position. He knows he can set his sights on DeMax. He knows he could possibly set his sights on Nugroho. It's still all to play for. Nugroho, now in the lead of the race, just turned his fastest lap of the race in his first sub 148 of the entire day. Coming to 8 laps to go this time. Bolden on DeMax, down to the Parabolica. The 7 car on the attack. DeMax under pressure for second place now, as Nugroho nearly leads by a second at start-finish already. Bolden to the right-hand side of DeMax now. Can Ryan Bolden pull this off? Into the first chicane. Lap 28. Give the second spot to Ryan Bolden. New partnership with Good Smile Racing and Hatsune Miku. One of the flashiest cars on the racetrack, one of the hardest to miss from a distance. You know who this is when you see him from a distance, but unfortunately, for most of the season, all you've seen him from is the distance. But now, as he increases closer and closer to Arnie Nugroho, Ryan Bolden has a real shot at victory today. Ryan Bolden in the WTSS. He's got 6 career wins. He hasn't won since Season 5 in the Duracell car. At the end of that year. Went winless in a one-off year for procrastination last season. While debating his future in the sport. Decided to come back home to Embledon Honshu to help that team restructure after a rough year with a 3-car effort. And now, inches closer to contending for a first victory in nearly 2 years. Exit of the Parabolica. Cross start finish line. 0.4 of a second gain by the 7 car of Ryan Bolden. And there goes Figueroa. On to Max now for the 3rd spot. And don't count out Ray Takeda, your pole sitter. She's coming back with a 2nd wind. Up into 7th, chasing the 5th position. Not far behind the leaders. Bolden closes into the quarter panel of Arnie Nugroho. We have a fight for the lead on our hands at Monza. Into the Della Raggia. Bolden unable to draw alongside, overshoots his entry slightly. Nugroho hangs on for the time being, but it's not a comfortable one. Four cars now turning into 3 cars for the lead as DeMax fades further. And Ray Takeda has approached. She's cut it down to 6 seconds. She was over 10 seconds back just 5 laps ago. That 50 car is on rails right now. And if she can make quick work of the traffic ahead, she could possibly have some hope of catching the leaders. Wouldn't that be something from that far back? Nugroho has held strong this lap. He's done well to keep Bolden behind. But the question is, how much longer can he hold him behind? That 7 car looks quick. Nugroho, the last of the Toyota Camrys left in WTSS. But it is still a Toyota v Toyota battle. Through the first chicane, Nugroho runs a bit wide, hampers his entry into the second part of the chicane. 3 cars under a blanket as Alison Figueroa approaches. Ryan Bolden to the back of Nugroho once again with 6 laps to go. Takeda unable to make quick work of Crown and Stabenow. That might be her last shot at chasing the race win over. Nothing separating the top 3. Absolutely nothing. Sean Angel cracks the top 30 finally. Every position he passes is a point salvaged. As Ryan Reid has dropped to 12th now. Again, damage control. He knows he's not got the fastest car out there. He knows he's struggling. But he also knows that he can afford to give up a position or two. In favor of keeping a large gap. Exiting Monza. Through Ascari. Coming to 5 laps to go. Nugroho had to fight off a seasoned veteran in Jeffrey Finguy to score his first victory back at Lime Rock Park. And now, in the same vein, he's now going to have to fight off somebody with just as much experience and somebody on the same class as him, experience-wise, for this victory. Into one we go, into the first chicane. Can Bolden mount a charge? He slightly overcooks his entry. Figueroa digs deeper on the outside of the second part of the chicane. The 98 draws alongside and through for second place. Alison Figueroa up into second place with 5 laps to go. Does she have what it takes? Ray Takeda on Roberto Crown Jr. Round the outside, entering the De La Raggia chicane. Won't be on the preferred line for the exit. Crown Jr. hangs on. And you can kiss Takeda's chances of a race victory goodbye, or even a podium. On the run to the Parabolica. Now it's Figueroa, the driver, putting the pressure on Arnie Nugroho, with Ryan Bolden now the third fiddle. Figueroa with an amazing Parabolica onto the back bumper, nearly kissing the rear spoiler of Arnie Nugroho's car. 4 laps to go at Monza. Into the braking zone. Once again into that first chicane. This time it's Figueroa's turn to overcook it slightly. Bolden swings back around the outside of the second part of the chicane, and he's going to follow alongside the 98 and take P2 back. Eugene DeMax may not even finish top 5 today. Through the De La Raggia once again, it's Bolden now, the man back in second place. As we head under the banking. Coming to 3 to go this time. Is there anybody that can stop Arnie Nugroho? Can anybody stop him from his stoic defense that he's held on so far to do? Stabenow, Crown, and Takeda are just going to run out of time. They're all faster than the top 3. Crucially, they're all faster than Nugroho, but they're not going to get there in time. Down the front straightaway. There's Stavina onto Max back there for 4th place. But as we head down to the first chicane with 3 laps to go now, can Bolden do anything for Nugroho? He washes up into the chicane now. And we cycle once again with Figueroa. Back alongside the 7 and back through. Stavina gets through. Crown gets through onto Max. Takada might be the one person that misses out this time. Bad chicane for Nugroho. Mistake for the 45. Figueroa pulls right back up like nothing ever happened. Man, give him 3 or 4 more laps and Stavina and Crown Jr. would be right there. Down into the braking zone. At the Ascari chicane. For the 3rd to last time. With Figueroa closing in. As Takada tries to go side by side with the Max through Ascari. And that might be her last shot at keeping up with the podium chase. Completely and utterly wiped out. Huge run through the Parabolica for Alison Figueroa. Pulls right up to the back of the 45. It's the closest she's been. Who's gonna pull it off? 2 laps to go for Arnie Nugroho. Oh, it's the same story as the last few times. Just trying to outbrake that 45 that's been so strong under braking. Nothing will do. Cale Teskar Jr., last race winner, has just come up dry on fuel. Almost a bit of karmic retribution from last week. Gibson as well in the 75. And Brandon Crasta. The Dodge is coming up. Shy at the end. Van Dalen as well. No major contenders. And all of those are points gained in the pocket of Sean Angel. Ryan Bolden and Alison Figueroa are going to have one last shot at this. One final time on the run, on the second to last time on the run down to the Parabolica. Ryan Bolden has been looking for this race victory for so long. He's going to have one last shot at it. Into the Parabolica. White flag this time for Arnie Nugroho. It'll be 1 lap to go for the 45. Bolden follows right in behind. But that 45 has been so strong down this front straightaway and into turn 1. No one's been able to outbrake him. No one's been able to even think about outbraking him. Last chance. Bolden overcooks it. That might open the door for Figueroa for one last shot on the last lap. But I don't know if there's any other places Nugroho could get past. Into the Delarogia for the final time. Once again, Nugroho misses the chicane. He's fighting with everything he's got left. He's on the ragged edge in that 45. Figueroa digging deep. One final time through the Lesmos. Oh, great exit from Nugroho. That might have just sealed it. She's not going to be close enough down to Ascari. She would have to pull an absolute miracle at the Parabolica now. Tries to force Nugroho into a mistake by peeking into the corner. One final time. He got his first career victory at Lime Rock Park in one of the most intense duels for the victory on a road course we've seen all season. With stout defense, he's had to do it again. Figueroa late brakes as hard as she can into the Parabolica, trying to find something. She throttles it up on the exit, finds a better line, but is too far back. Arnie Nugroho is a two-time winner in the WTSS in another unbelievable defensive drive. Unreal, and there's a photo finish back here for 8th place. Engritz is gonna get Van Dalen at the line. Wow. Championship leader Ryan Reid salvages a 12th place finish. I say salvages. Secures a 12th place finish. That is a huge, huge points day for the championship picture, for him and for everybody else. Angel got one more car on that last lap, being Jeffrey Finguy. He'll come home in 26th place. Nugroho, though, was not to be denied. His best spot on the racetrack was the most important spot on the racetrack. He got into that first chicane perfectly every single time without mistake for the entire last 10 laps. Allison Figueroa, Ryan Bolden, Jake Stavanaugh, Roberto Crown Jr. the top 5, Ray Takeda, Eugene DeMax, Shrimp Engritz, Sebastian Van Dalen, and Patrick Smith the top 10. Nutt, Reed, Frazier, Shepard, and Curtis the top 15. The rest of your running order is as follows. Championship contenders: Tristan Wilhoit in 16th, Yuki Tamura in 17th, Chris Louvier in 18th, Jeff McLennan 23rd, Sean Angel 26th, and all the way back there in 39th with that damage in the early stages, Mitchell Mark out of the race. But no man or woman was going to stop Arnie Nugroho from scoring a second career victory in the WTSS. Congratulations to Arnie Nugroho, your winner here at Monza. We'll see you next race for the most prestigious event on the entire calendar for 24 laps at Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans.